Hey, I'm JT Nesbitt. Welcome to another episode of Motorcycle Rescue. This is our fourth installment on the Funky Harley. I'm here with my excellent nephew, Luca.
Hello.
And we're going to do a bunch of interesting projects today. Now, I've done a lot of work on this bike while Luca's been at school, so before we really get started, we need to go over all the stuff that I've already done. And as you can tell, we got our powder coat done. Let's take a tour of the bike. Wow, have a look at this black beauty. All of this stuff was powder coated by our good friend Alan Kirkfield at Kirkfield's Powder Coating. I've known Alan for 25 years. He's a great friend of mine, and man, does he do excellent work. If you can believe it, this is not wet paint. This is powder coat. Come have a look at the finish. Just look at the finish of this powder coat. I was blown away. This isn't wet paint. Alan's really perfected his technique. It just looks great. And if you come down the fender, you'll see our new taillight housing. So this is one of my favorite motorcycle taillights. It's actually from a 50 Pontiac. But I built this really nice housing because it's just such a great retro look, and it's glass. I think it looks great. What do you think?
I think it looks really nice.
Our front fender is one of the few parts that we saved from the original bike, and it had a ton of holes in it. So I had to go in and fill all the holes because you can't have Bondo or any body filler because this is powder coat. Have a look at how nice it came out. After reviewing the footage from episode 3, when I asked my excellent nephew Luca whether our carburetor was opening all the way, I realized that it wasn't. So Luca, let's try this one more time. Is our carburetor now opening all the way?
I think it is.
Well, that meant a lot of engineering had to be done on our throttle housing, but we got it done. When we left off last time, we had a completely destroyed lower tree, just like every part on this motorcycle. So I found a new one, installed and tuned our steering neck bearings, and went ahead and polished and finished all of our front lower legs and our tins. It looks really good now. I'm very excited about this part. Of course, after the bike is all stripped down, I realized that the coil mounts were completely stripped out. So I had to Healy coil this top one, rethread the bottom one. As I've stated before, ergonomics on these vintage Harleys really aren't set up for big, tall guys like me and Luca. So one of the first things I had to do was pretty much modify this clutch rocker to fit guys with 12.5 shoe sizes to give us room to actually work the rocker back and forth. Then I put it all together and had to modify the clutch arm to make it work. Right, but if you look, we currently have a working clutch. And our foot clutch will now retain its position, whether it's engaged or disengaged. It's set up to do toe to go. One of the things that I finished while Luca was at school was our exhaust system. This is an all-new stainless steel exhaust system that I built, welded up, and then I put these clever little springs right here to hold the pipes inside the head. I also formed the flanges that go inside the head with a little lip to help them seal. Another thing we got fixed is our Kickstarter gear is now the correct gear for this transmission. This transmission, turns out, had all kinds of problems. It had a shifter fork installed backwards. Wasn't shifting. Got that fixed. On the other side of the bike, we'll have a look at the carburetor support that I built.
Rolling.
Our engine came equipped with a Delorto PHM. This carburetor wasn't original to this engine, So I had to figure out some way of supporting the carburetor so that it doesn't go anywhere when it's experiencing all the vibration. So what I built is this very clever carburetor support bracket that bolts onto the engine here, is supported on the case here, and then supports the carburetor through the bottom drain bolt of the float bolt. It's a little bit weird because to change jettings on the carburetor, you have to take the bracket off, but I think it looks okay.
Well, as you can see, Uncle JT has done a fantastic job with this bike. So, to start off this session, what we're going to do is we're going to rebuild the brakes.
If you remember from our very first video on this bike, our bleeder screw had a tire valve stem in it. Well, what I did is found a bleeder screw repair kit, tapped the caliper out to fit it, and I believe we're on our way to having this fixed. We'll find out in a minute. I also did a light hone inside the brake caliper. Let's get to rebuilding this thing and see whether it's going to work. Okay, so we put our .5 silicone on our piston. .5 brake fluid all in the bore of our caliper. And we begin to get our parts together.
Well, when taking apart the caliper and trying to rebuild it, we found that the pistons did not fit. So let me show you guys and take measurements. It's about 57.35. Now let's measure this part right here. So at its widest point, that's 57 point, let's see, 02, 03. Now let's see, the bore. Then at its widest point, we have it at about 57.1210. There we go.
So what's that mean? What's our interference between our piston and the bore?
Well, give or take, between this part here, it's supposed to go in like that, between this part here and this part here, there's about, let's see, 36 minus 10, there's about 16 or 14 millimeters of margins.
Yeah.
Well, it's about that much. So, it's like barely anything. And now, Uncle JT, as you can see here, he tried to force it in to no avail. Now that's not coming out, so. Uh-oh.
Since we can't even rebuild the original caliper that came on this bike, I got a new one on order. Let's see if we can rebuild the original master cylinder that came off this bike for the rear. I'm going to take the floorboard assembly off, get the master cylinder off. We're going to get it on the bench and have a look. Let's get her over to the bench and have a look. Yuck.
JT, I'm getting the rust out of this because, like most parts on the old Harley, it's completely out of shape. So, here, have a look inside there. I don't know if you can see that.
How does the bore look?
Not so good. There's some rust in there as well.
Like every part on this motorcycle, the original master cylinder is questionable. I'm going to try and hone out the bore of our master cylinder because it's real chunky in here. Let's just bore it out and see if it's possible to be able to form a seal on the plunger. I'm going to take my light oil, put a little on my cylinder hone, and just very gently turn this guy out. That's a definite maybe. After close inspection of the original master cylinder, man, I see all kinds of little corrosions and pit marks inside the bore. So I got this one, this old used aftermarket one. Let's see if it looks any good. Just happen to have this laying on the shelf. That feels pretty corroded too. But let's hone this one out. Maybe we'll have better luck with this one. Clean up the original master cylinder for the rear that came with the bike and one that I had just laying around. Neither one of these are any good. I got a new part coming, and it's really a shame because both of these could have been fine, usable, serviceable, rebuildable parts if the owners of the machine had just changed the brake fluid every few years. We could have avoided all of this trouble. So new parts are on the way. Now it's time for Brown Lounge Interlude. Time to experience the majesty and power of Brown Lounge.
Since we weren't able to salvage either the rear master cylinder that JT had lying around or the one that came with the bike, we had to order an all new one, which is this right here. It looks really nice. And since we weren't able to rebuild the front caliper, we had to get a new one of those as well. So it looks really nice.
Our new front caliper looks pretty good, sort of like the one that came off of it. It's a reproduction part. But one of the things that I know for sure about these reproduction parts is that the brake pads that come with them aren't the brake pads that we want to run. So we're going to swap out our brake pads for an EBC pad that's got a really soft compound to protect that front rotor. This is a custom brake line made by a company named Spiegler, who I know real well and used for years. And we got our end, which is a NPT thread, taped up. We're going to install it in the caliper and bolt this caliper onto the front end.
New front caliper installed.
New rear master cylinder installed.
With the caliper and the brake line installed, it's time to bleed our front brakes using silicone .5. Sorry. And with that, we've finished the 4th installment of Luca and Uncle JT's Funky Harley. However, we're still far from finishing this project. This bike is not yet saved. JT, what do we have left to do?
Well, Luca, the last big job that we've got is to build a new wire harness for this machine. But I've got a lot of experience building wire harnesses, so that's not going to be that big of a deal. And after that, all we have to do is fire it up for the first time and start our tuning, the process of shakedown and tuning. So our next episode, installment 5, I think we might be able to get it running.
Yeah.
Does that sound good to you?
Sounds great.
All right. Good time.
Good time. Perfect. That's what I'm talking about.